we're going to review, go over quickly about the process of creating HPDs. And then I'm going to review an article that we have on how to upgrade HPDs and then do a demo with the HPD builder so that we can go together through each step. I'm also going to talk a little bit of how to manage HPDs, and then we can have time for some questions. While this webinar can be targeted to anyone creating HPDs, I wanted to do this webinar especially for those that take over on new roles and then they find out that their companies have HPDs and they don't know really where to start in the process of upgrading them or even knowing which ones are expired or expiring soon. So just a quick review of how HPDs are created. Everything started with the HPD Open Standard, which is where all the guidelines are. There are documentations that complement the standard that are best practices, but are part of the standard. And then the manufacturers use the HPD builder to create and publish HPDs. The HPD project can be used in this process when creating HPDs. Then HPDs are published and go to the HPD repository. And from the repository, the data for the HPDs is shared with the HPD data partners, which are other databases that also provide health product declarations to the building and construction community. Alternatively, there is a route with 3Exchange, and it also starts with the HPD Open Standard and understanding the data requirements. Then manufacturers can use 3Exchange to manage the data for HPDs and enter most of the information. Then this information has to be shared with the HPD builder, and this is done through an API. So you still need this account in the HPD builder because all HPDs are published through the HPD builder. In the HPD builder, the data sent by ToxNode is rescreened, except for that the proprietary data that has been already assessed in 3Exchange. And then the HPD can be published. It will go to the repository and HPD data partners. So let's go through the process of hold on, let's go through the process together of upgrading HPDs. So let's say you have to start to upgrade HPDs, or you want to know which HPDs are expired. A good first step is to go to the repository and find your organization's name. And here you can go and check the name of your company and select your company. Let's say it's this one. And there's one HPD, it's an old version, it's a 2.0, and there is no designation that was expired. So this is one case, but we're going to talk about that. Let's say I selected another organization. I'm going to go directly to those that I know that are expired so that I can show you. And you get this expired notification. This means the HPD is still published. Of course, it's available for download, but it's expired. Now, does the HPD work? Can it be used if it's expired? Yes. So if the product was specified, when the product was specified for a lead project, for example, if the HPD was current, then the expired HPD can be used because lead relates the date with the time when the product was specified. The project can be built 5 years later, but if at the moment of the specification the HPD was, then it works. And this is why manufacturers sometimes decide to keep all the versions of the HPDs available. So if it's expired, then you will see this. For very old versions of HPDs, and I'm going to go back to my first example, because we have gone through different updates of the standard. In the repository, you will find all the versions, 1.0, 2.0, 2.1, 2.1.1, 2.2, and 2.3, which is the current version. Any HPD that is version 2 and 2.0 and up can be upgraded in the HPD builder. Now, 1.0 HPDs, they cannot be upgraded in the HPD builder. They will need to be rebuilt from scratch in the builder. And the reason is because 1.0 were created with a different software. And while 1.0s are a good starting point. So if you're really new and you notice that your organization had 1.0 HPDs, then you can start with the HPD as guidance for product information, for example, but most of the data is likely not valid. So you will need to really take it as if it was from zero. Because the way that the reporting was done, this was the pilot standard for the health product declaration, has changed so much in the rest, in the following versions. And since another software was used, we don't have any automated checks implemented, and the data is not even available. So 2.0s and up can be upgraded. Now, some 2.0s, because they were very old, might not have that designation of expired because the expiry date was not part of the data that was shared in the database that fed the repository. But if you have a 2.0, it's expired because HPDs are valid for 3 years when they're new versions. Certainly, most of 2.1.1 until 2.1.1 are expired now, and 2.2 are expiring currently. So you can assure that even if the designation is not there, the HPD is expired. Okay, so once you learn the HPD is expired, I have to renew it. Then you will go to our help, and you can Google this. You can Google how to upgrade HPDs to 2.3, and you will get to our support portal. There's an article that has step-by-step process of what you need to do. So you will need to go to the HPD builder. So let's go through each of them, because even though these are the steps, there are things that are associated with each step, right? So when you have an expired HPD, you will see, or an HPD in a previous version, you will see the upgrade to 2.3 button. And this is because the data is in any of the previous versions, and there are new fields for the new version. So in order to see these new fields, then you have to convert that raw file. And that's why you cannot even access to it. You can view it once you upgrade it, but you can't access. If the HPD is published, because this is a draft, but if the HPD is published, you can see the PDF of the published HPD, but you cannot access the file unless you upgrade it. When you need to upgrade the file of an HPD that is published, you need to decide whether you want to keep it published in the repository, the expired version, or not. And to withdraw, I'm sorry, I'm jumping, I need to find it exactly. So to withdraw an HPD from the repo, you will see this when it's published, you will see this X button. So when you want to upgrade, if you want to keep the old version in the repository, you can upgrade without withdrawing. And this will create another record for your product and publish a new HPD. Now, if you want to replace the old version, then you need to withdraw the HPD first, make the edits, and republish. All right, so based on your decision, now you're ready to upgrade. You need to click the upgrade button. There is a notification telling you that there will be this is the current version, and then you can upgrade. So once you have upgraded, you will see the version, the standard here that says 2.3 and you won't see the upgrade button anymore. And then this becomes a link that you can click to access the record. As well as this eye icon will allow you to go to the record. Okay, that sometimes takes a little longer to load if it's a very old version. So here's the second step. Go to the dashboard, upgrade, third step. Click on the new record and the compliance. The builder has a compliance check, and this is built to actually flag any fields that could be incomplete or that needs attention, because this HPD seems empty. But there are many HPDs like this, because if your HPD was, let's say, 2.1 version, we didn't have the master format classification automated, for example. So, or maybe if you see your PDF, you will see the data. You will see the CSI section, but you still need to enter it here because previously it was entered manually. So that's why it's important to review each of the fields that are at least in red to start with, because those are either new or things that need attention and are required for you to publish. In each of the sections of the HPD, you will have a compliance check. And it's different because it's checking the fields for the current screen. So for example, in the content inventory, I'm saying, okay, you need to enter the nested material type. And this is, again, because material type was added after, I think in the 2.2 standard. So any 2.3, any HPD before that maybe had it indicated, like in the material notes or substance role, but now you have to select it because we have automated the entry. So the user has to come, select the type, save, and then do that for every single substance until this becomes green or yellow. Same with the substances. Here's another example. We have substance row. And this substance row, the data is likely there because substance row has been in the standard since the beginning. So body, but body is not really a substance role. So we standardized the roles and created a list of the roles that can be used, which is here, if you click the question mark here. And what the user has to do is to replace the entry with one that is available. Sometimes it could be the same one. I mean, it could be binder, for example, it's very common. And even if binder is one of the options, the user still needs to go and select it from this list so that the HPD is updated and the compliance check is passed. So once the user goes through the steps, the user will see how this is being done. If the user does not understand what the field is, so what is substance role? You have the option to go to the help section. We have help icons throughout the sections. Sometimes you will see a gray, and that's because it's at the level of the entry screen. So in this case, the help shows when you click add a substance, and here is where all the information is. So all the fields here are defined on the right. This is the text from the HPD opening standard. So you can refer to the standard text if you want to know what the data, what is the data that you need to enter. Of course, if there are any questions, you can contact us, but just wanted to show you that all the information is there. So another very important is that if it's not an obvious update, so for example, substance notes, you can see it's there, then you can come here, it's here. But we have another check, which is the weight. And this is something that is new as well. So all HPDs, if the weight was not reported correctly, very old HPDs will get this notification that the weight quality inspector is red, and this is like a street light, like the compliance check. So if it's red, there's no way you can publish the HPD. If it's yellow, you will need to test a statement, and then if it's green, you're good to go. Now, this is related to the content inventory weight. And for HPDs, it is required that manufacturers report 100% of the formulation. So, and this is a common concern when manufacturers had created HPDs in the past using SDS as the source. And because SDS not necessarily lists the complete inventory of contents, then there are substances that are missing. And usually the content that is missing is not necessarily hazardous because maybe water is not added in the SDS because it's not hazardous. But the HPD requires that you report to 100%. So how is this? How can you read the weight quality inspector? If it's red, it means it's not within the ranges that are allowed. This will tell you the average weight, the total average weight of the materials that were reported. And this should be under 120. And the reason is because if you see here, okay, you have an average weight of the first material of 98, and you have another that is 10. So this is way more than around 100, right? 123. So you just need to review and make sure that the weights were reported correctly, that maybe you didn't add an extra substances, or maybe the ranges are too high. So there are multiple reasons why the inventory could be over 120. If it's under, then it might be that you're missing content. Yellow, as I said, is in between. So let's say, let me modify it a little bit to show you how this changed. See, now, okay, now we're getting a yellow here, 71. This is because the minimum to report is an average of 69. So in this case, the HPD can be published as long as you attest that you have reviewed the content inventory and you agree that that's the correct percent. The ideal would be 100, but sometimes because of ranges, you will need to publish under yellow. Okay, so besides the check, and again we have the compliance check and we have the weight. You need to check with your team on whether this formulation is right or not, because it could be that the person that created the HPD 5 years ago reported a product and the formulation of the product has changed over the years. So it's not only renewing the information that is here, is that you have to make sure that that's the current product formulation. And if you have no idea, then you can check with the product manager, or you need to research who provided the HPD data to the person that created this before. And as I said, it could be that it was not created correctly the first time. So that's why it's important to check the HPD open standard. And if there is data that is missing, then we can support you on what is the process of getting this data. But you need to start with confirming whether that's right or not and checking for the sources. All right, so we go through the compliance check, we go through the weight inspector, and then we have the lead and program pre-checks. This is very handy because this allows the manufacturer to check the HPD data against the requirements for lead B4 and lead B4.1. We're going to have also whatever is needed to check against version 5. And then we also have the program pre-checks, which are for checking the HPD data against the requirements to other programs. The lead pre-check displays in the first page of the HPD. So it's very helpful for HPD users to see these results. Now, if the manufacturer does not pass the pre-check for any of the options, you don't have to worry because it's not going to display a negative result. It will only display if you passed. If you want to learn why you're not passing the pre-check, you can check results and it will tell you, okay, this is because the HPD is not complete. So I'm going to go to an HPD that is complete, or at least close to complete. Okay, this one. And okay, Load. This is a lot of data in it. Let's see if the nested loads. Okay, great. All right, so this is an HPD that is complete. You can see that it's green on wave, green compliance in this first section, and then you can go through each of the sections. They're all green. And once the HPD is complete, is where it's recommended, but still the lead pre-check shows red. Why? Okay, I'm missing characterized and it's green. What does this mean? This is a very common, because you don't see a field called characterized and screen in the HPD. So if you go back and try to find where that is, you're not going to find anything. So that's where you can preview the HPD, which you can do anytime in the process. See how it's looking like. And then you'll see this characterize and screen and identify. And this refers to the scope of the HPD. This is something that is automatically selected. And it's a very common question when people are upgrading old HPDs. And sometimes HPDs are no, because in the past, we didn't have a check for helping the manufacturer to enter the data completely. Now we have implemented new functionality in the builder that saves manufacturers of having characterized no, for example. But before that was not in place, so there are HPDs that could have these mistakes. What does characterize means is that you provided every piece of the content inventory, either a substance, a material, polymer, with the weight that this product represents in your product and the role for each of these. Screen means that those substances, materials that need screening against the HPDC priority hazards list were added in the HPD builder directly by adding a substance here, or were screened using 3D exchange, meaning that they were evaluated against this list. And identified refers to whether there are proprietary ingredients or not. So when a manufacturer decides to undisclose a substance or a material name, this will be no. Identifying no is totally accepted by the HPD open standard because it's actually one of our core functionalities that we allow the manufacturer to hide the name and the CAS number of proprietary information. And characterize no, screen no, it's okay for the standard, but it's not okay for lead. Lead requires that HPDs are characterized yes, and screen yes, and identify can be yes or no. So it's important to provide all the data for the role, which is enforced by the builder, screen all the substances, and this is optional. So going back to the builder, going back to the lead pre-check, how do I fix this? Okay, this goes directly to substances because we're talking about where the data was reported completely in the builder or not. And it's likely going to be indicated either by the compliance check or it could be associated to special conditions. And this I go to the next point. Special conditions are those materials that cannot be characterized easily with a CAS number. And this is where it is very important to go to the supporting documentation of the HPD Open Standard that can be found in the HPD Collaborative website, best practices, and special conditions. These are not in the standard because there is a policy for each type of material, so the document will be very long. But if there are any of these materials in your product, any of the types that fall here, you need to review the policy and see whether it applies to your product, and review the instructions for how to report it. For each of these special conditions, there is a weight panel here to enter them in materials. And I think this is one of the most complicated parts of upgrading. And it's actually the only complicated, because in the past, all content for the HPD would enter as substances. So materials didn't exist, polymers panel didn't exist, tab didn't exist. And the right way to upgrade an HPD requires that if you had a polymer under substances, a biological material under substances, mixed recycled content on the substances, these entries need to be deleted here, and then re-enter using the right type of material. Okay? So you can review your current HPD, what is in there, and then if you identify a special condition, download the policy and update accordingly. Okay, once this up, if you have any questions, we are always there for support. So you can just let us know. If you don't understand the policy, if you don't know if it applies to your product, you can just email us at support, and we'll be happy to support you during the process. All right, so let's go back to our guidelines. So lead pre-check. Okay, so sorry that I jumped with the lead pre-check. The reasons, characterizing screen. Again, you can go and substance. They're always related to substances, materials, or polymers. They can be substances or special conditions, and they indicate why it's characterized yes or no in the policy. Other reasons will always be easy to identify, because it will tell you what is accessories, whether it's in general information. It will indicate where the issue is, and you can go and find the field and update. But those that I showed are the ones that are not directly specified. So once HPD has been updated, you need to republish the record. So this is done in this section number 6, references. Here you add the contact information. This is very important to update, because the contact information that is added in this field should be the one for the responsible person, for the person that is attesting that the data reported in the HPD is correct. So we see very commonly that manufacturers come, upgrade, update, publish, and then the contact information remains the old contact information. And that is not right. This should have the author of the HPD. It should be a person. It's not allowed in the standard to enter an organization contact information, like an info@email. The idea is that whoever has a question about the data in the HPD can contact this person directly and ask questions or make any comments. Once you are ready with all the updates, you can click Publish HPD, and then if the HPD is complete, you will get this green button to yes, publish. If there is data that is missing, so let's say I go to my previous example here, it will tell you what you're missing. The weight quality inspector is in red. You need to fill in accessory, certification, general, and there are issues because this HPD is empty. So you will see. So the builder is only going to allow you to publish if it considers that your HPD is complete. Otherwise, you will get indicated where to go and update your information. So once the HPD has been published, you click the green button, you can go back to the product page and then click on the repository tab. And you will see a PDF icon here to download. Let's go to the one that I have already published here. So you click on the product repository tab, and you will be able to download the PDF of this HPD right away after publication. And once it's published and you get the PDF, you are ready to share this PDF with your customers. This PDF will go down to the repository, and sometimes it takes 10 to 20 minutes to display in the database. It takes a little, it's not right away. But since you cannot download it right away from the builder, then you can start using it. But 20 minutes after, you will be able to search here and find the published HPD here and download it from here. So let's try to find my HPD. You can check by manufacturer or product name, and then click here, click download. And there's your PDF. It's the same that you get from the builder. Okay, so just as a reminder, when you publish the HPD, there is a new record every time that you publish an HPD. Even if you come back and change something very simple, let's say you change, I don't know, this number to 99, and you republish, there is a new version of the HPD. And the differentiator will be the unique identifier. So if you publish an HPD and share it, but then you republish again, just make sure that you upgrade everyone with the current unique identifier. But there will be only one file in the repository for your product. So every time you republish, a new version is created and the old version is replaced. Unless you didn't unpublish the HPD. There is where you're going to have two versions of the same HPD. And if you decide in the future to remove that, you need to contact us and we can remove it. And I think with that, we can finish the process. You can go back to your dashboard to see the products that you have. I am working on requesting an update to this dashboard so we can add here information about expiration maybe, so that users can see from this dashboard if it's expired or not. And this, you can make it bigger to see all. This can be sorted by name and by the date when it was created. And if the HPDs were created in 3Exchange, you have two options. You can upgrade it from here, or you will need to go to 3Exchange, upgrade the data, and send the data again to the builder. But once that record has been sent the first time to the builder, you can use the builder to update it and republish the record. I'm going to stop here with the demo and ask if there are any questions. Let me stop presenting. Wait a little. Let's go to questions. Not sure. Hold on. Stop sharing. I see. Okay. I need to make updates in 2.3. Can I keep the updates in draft without losing the core? Yes, exactly. Okay, yes, you can modify HPD data anytime. And if you don't publish, there won't be a new record. So you can use the builder, you can modify formulation, any changes. Once you click publish, then the old record gets replaced if it's within the same 2.3 version. And that's a normal use case that you work on a new version of the HPD without withdrawing the previous one. Do current 2.3 HPD support the newly released lead standard? Yes, because the requirements really didn't change. So the lead requires a complete HPD. Of the way that option 1, option 2, that changed. But the same, the complete HPD and the verified HPDs are recognized by lead. Is it possible to create region-specific HPDs that only screen substances against regulatory lists? Well, we're working in an EU HPD version. It's not going to replace the original HPD open standard that is focused on hazard lists in the US, but we will have like an additional report that users will be able to generate and will be screening about lists in the EU region. If you are in another region and you would like for us to consider a version for your region, you can just contact us in support and we will be happy to review it. Regardless, HPDs don't have regionality regarding the usability in lead. For example, if the product that is, let's say a company has a plant in the US and has another plant in China and has another plant in Brazil. If the product formulation is the same, the HPD is valid across because HPDs go where lead goes. So the HPD, because you don't have any of the fields of the HPDs that are required